All right, hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here today at the Corning Museum of Glass. Welcome to our Amphitheater Hot Shop. We have a wonderful guest here joining us today. We have Sophia Taillet with us. She is a French designer with us from Wanted Design, which is a design firm in New York City that invites a French designer every year to join them for about 2 months, and then she gets to be with us for about a week. So let's give a big warm welcome to Sophia, everyone. Thank you. We also want to welcome our guests online. Thanks for joining us here. Please ask us any questions you might have in the comments. We'll answer them live for you here. We're live streaming, so we have a little bit of an hour and a half or so to showcase some of the things we've been working on here with Sophia. The head of our team here at the museum for this week for Sophia is Chris Rochelle. We have Catherine Ayers here as well, and we have Jason, of course, and Alexis on our AV system. So let's get a big round of applause for the team going as well, please. Thank you. Awesome. So what we have planned today is we're going to make a carafe, and we're going to add a spiral wrap around it, a very kind of elegant, fine spiral wrap with a pre-made handle on our carafe. And then we're also going to add kind of a part of a set, and the other object we're going to be making during this live stream is a flower vase, a tall flower vase. So Sophia here has worked on a multitude of different things. She has come to us with many ideas, and then she's just kind of let the glass allow her to evolve those ideas. She's really a very amazing artist, a very deep thinker when it comes to the materials that she's working with. So it's been an honor to have her with us. We started with a few drawings and designs that we've talked about a little bit before she got here. A little bit of what you see here is some of these lighting pieces. And actually, let me go right back to that. Right now, Chris is wrapping the glass that we have on the end of that pipe around a mold to get a round shape. And then this is going to be the handle for our carafe. And so what we have here are a few different designs that we've kind of doctored up a little bit, bless you. And then we have this one right here that we've decided on. So this is going to be kind of a straight-walled pitcher with a little spout. And then the handle here, oh, it's this one. Yeah, perfect. Straight-walled carafe with a handle that is going to be oval and added on. Oh, and the spiral wrap that goes around that too. Thanks, Sophia. So we have a spiral wrap and some of the objects that we make for our maid line, which is available in the gift shop. This wrap that we add is a separate bit of glass that's attached and wrapped around the side. So yeah, we have a lot of fun in store for this piece, but we first have to get the handle in the exact shape that we want it. Now, when you make a carafe or you make a pitcher, when you add a handle to it traditionally in the glass method, adding a hot handle onto the piece, you bring a bit of glass. Once the whole piece, the body of the vessel is finished, your assistant will bring the glass over after it's kind of shaped like a hot dog, and they stick it on. They cut off the top, and then they fold it onto the piece. They basically do what we call hot sculpting, where you sculpt it hot on the vessel. This is where we're going to do the hot sculpting here. We're going to get that handle into the shape we want it to be in, so it's perfect, because that's a really hard shape to hot sculpt on the piece once the piece is finished. So it's easier to make the two separate and apply them together than to hot sculpt that handle on for this particular object. So Chris is going to work on that. How he got here, we started a little bit before we began the live stream and this demonstration so that we could kind of keep this in a good time. So what he did was he started with glass from our furnace, and our furnace starts at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. When glass comes out of that oven, it's runny, it's gooey, it's like honey, and it glows. We take that clear glass and we roll it in color to add the color to the material. So it starts clear and then we add color. The theme for this set of objects that we're making, we also made a small cup maybe I shouldn't say small. It's just a nice, decent-sized cup with a handle on the side of it. We made a taller flower vase already. We're making this carafe. We're going to make another flower vase, but they're all in this beautiful, we're calling it transparent black, which is a really good way to describe it. But those of us, our glassy folks, will know this as neutral gray. Neutral gray is a really beautiful color that kind of can have a lot of different shades. You can blow it out to be a really transparent gray, and then you can also keep it nice and thick and have more of a transparent black color. So the color you're seeing a little bit of red where the glass is hot, but then the rest of that, that black, that gray, is what the color will look like. So this is a color that doesn't really look hot when it is hot. But a lot of other colors are like that. All right, so yeah, more into these objects here. So we've done some of these. These are for lighting. And then we pulled these really long tubes. This was a really fun thing we did a couple of days ago. We pulled these really long tubes that she's also going to use for lighting too. And as far as design work goes, you know, she's really able to do whatever she wants with these objects. Once we make them for her, she can then kind of riff off of this and do a lot of different things. But, you know, she was thinking a light here, and then this would be that beam of light. This could be suspended. That was her initial idea. This could be something that comes from just directly from the floor, and that would be that's actually a really cool idea for a lamp. This is also something she was thinking about, having the light here and it kind of just leaning in a corner. There's a lot of amazing things you can do with just one little object. But yeah, feel free to come and look at any of these objects a little closer if you'd like. That's one tube. We have about 5 or 6 other bigger tubes on that table over there. She's really been putting out a lot of work, and that's been really fun to be a part of. Awesome. So Sophia decided to, she's got her silver suit on. She's protected against the elements. And she sometimes is saying, well, I'm not doing much, but she is. She's the driver behind all of this. She's the one in charge of what we're doing. And we have the skills and abilities to do that for her. So that's what this residency does for different designers, is it really allows for them to utilize our team that has lots of skills in order to make anything that they really want out of glass. Oh yeah, and I'm Katie. If you guys have questions at all, just let me know, especially online too. We have Emily here to answer those questions. And if she doesn't know any what the answer is, she'll come ask me, but that's rare. She's got a lot of answers. All right, so we are kind of straightening that. We have cork paddles. One small, one's big. Sometimes you can use both. And we really want this to be really fine and even. We need to keep the glass above about 1,000 degrees the whole time we're working with it, maybe 900 actually. So Catherine's going to go back to that oven to reheat the glass often for Chris so that he can really focus on what's next. But you really can't leave the glass out for even a few seconds longer. So in order to put these two objects together, we're making this first, and then we're going to put it in a piece of equipment called the garage. The garage is hotter on one side than the other, and you can put objects into the garage at a lower temperature. Of course, this is all relative, right? So the lower temperature is really kind of like 900, 950, and the hotter temperature is really around about 1050 or 1100. And so you put things in the colder side if you want them to stay there for a longer term, and then you can get them ready to come out of the oven, and you get them over to the hotter side when they're ready to come out. So then you kind of pre-warm them before you stick them into that 2,000-degree oven. If you let something get cold, like I mentioned, and you try to put it back into that 2,000-degree oven, that is could be dangerous to the glass. It could break the glass because of thermal shock. So if you let the glass get too cold and then try to heat it up really fast, it will crack and break, most likely. So the garage is perfect for that. So Chris has the handle in the garage. He's going to leave it on the pipe. I'm going to see if he might need an extra hand. Good? Mm-hmm. I'm going to set that over there. I'm going to hang it just so you guys know. Okay. So that is put away for now. Now we're sticking up some color. So I mentioned powder earlier. This is glass powder. Powder can be rolled on or even sifted on, like you would sift flour or sugar. It can be, or you can use frit, which is bigger chunks of glass than powder. Or you can use color bar. So this is a bar of color right here. It's just basically a chunk of color. So it's color all the way through. You can chop this up into the appropriate amount of glass you want to use for a particular piece. So for a larger piece like this, for this neutral gray, we used about this much color. Something like this, we use about this much yellow. For a piece like this, we'll probably use about this much neutral gray. That's stuck onto a pipe, and then we preheat it. We start to heat it up and get it really molten and melty, and we melt it over a bubble. We call it an overlay. And we're going to overlay that over a bubble and then add more glass to that before we shape it. You have to preheat that chunk of color in the oven in order to stick it up to the pipe so the hot glass will stick to the pipe. And so that you don't stick a cold piece of glass into the hot oven, as we now know, will break the glass. So we preheat it essentially. So Catherine's got that on the end of that pipe, and then Chris is going to start what we call the starter bubble. He's going to gather glass out of our oven. Inside that oven is a big ceramic bowl called a crucible. This one holds about 1,000 pounds of glass. It's a whole lot of material. We won't use 1,000 pounds of glass during this residency, but it's there in case anyone needs it. So there's our bit of glass there. He'll center and cool the material. This is wet wood. We call that a block. The block will just center and cool the glass and get this as evenly distributed as possible around the end of that pipe so that the bubble we put into the glass after we cool it will be as centered as possible too. That's a hollow stainless steel blowpipe. The blowpipes are hollow and they don't transfer heat because it's stainless steel. Watch this. He blows into the back of the pipe, traps his air with his thumb. Watch closely. That bubble just pops out into that glass. Chris is holding the pipe in the middle of the pipe. Any closer to that glass and it's going to be too hot to touch. So we know exactly what part of the pipe to hold, what part not to hold. Now that we have this small bubble perfectly centered, we're going to add color to it. So here comes Catherine. She's going to get this really hot, basically as hot as she can handle it. So as hot as she can bring it. The hotter the glass gets, the more it moves. So we get it right to about that point where it's the most movable possible. We bring it over, and we'll use gravity. Chris holds this pipe up towards the ceiling. Catherine brings the glass over, stands next to him so that he can grab the pipe, let that glass fall, and then he'll cut the pipe free. And that whole darker part is color, pure color. Now, think of it like a hat. We're going to push the hat down onto the head. We're going to heat it up, and then we're going to pull that all the way down. I guess think of it like a sock. You wouldn't pull your hat all the way down to your chin, but you'd pull your sock all the way to your heel. We can think of it like a sock. So that's the next goal, is to get that all the way over the bubble. Mm-hmm. Thanks. We're going to use this metal table to do just that. Pull all that color all the way over the top. Nicely done. To ensure an even overlay, Chris heats it, rolls it on the table again, pushing that color back, and then pushing it forward. That evens it out a little bit more. He's just thinking about the way it's distributed around that bubble. Chris has about 25 years of glass experience. He's been doing this for a while. He makes this process look really easy. He's someone who can really make anything. That's why he's so good to have as a lead here. And all of our glassmakers are also able to do that as well. But he and Sophia have talked a lot about this, and it kind of becomes a second language, being able to communicate with another person and getting their ideas translated into glass. And Chris is really good at that. A little bit more about Sophia. She's a French artist designer, a graduate of, I'm not going to say this because it's, I'm going to butcher the French accent, but it's a very decorated arts college in Paris. She attended also the School of Visual Arts in New York. At the crossroads of art, design, and craftsmanship, her practice explores how material and gesture can translate movement into form. Through her objects and installations, she creates poetic dialogues between motion, sound, and matter. She works with a wide range of savoir-faire, from traditional glassblowing to experimental uses of industrial techniques, transforming mechanical elements into poetic design forms. She collaborates with artisans, dancers, composers, and industrial partners, developing projects that merge technical experimentation with sensory experience. I highly encourage you to visit her website. It's Sophia Taillet at .com, and then her Instagram, same thing, at Sophia __ Taillet. You can see some of the objects that she's been working on. One of my favorites is her work called Spinning Around, which was, shown during Paris Design Week. And it's a really amazing object. It's about 7 or 8 of these spinning mirrors. They are a round mirror with just like one side has like a peg that is on the ground, and it just rotates in a circle and it kind of shows the world around it as you watch it. It's really, really amazing. But yeah. Here's a little bit also about wanted design. Well, here's actually our second gather over this color overlay. This will give us more glass to work with, but not enough still. So we still really have to build up layers to get to that amount that we need. This piece here was about 5 gathers of glass. And that's about 35 pounds. This one's about 20 pounds, maybe 15 pounds. This carafe is not going to be very, very big. So we'll probably get maybe one more gather over this. Maybe, actually. We'll see what he does. Okay, about Wanted Design. Wanted Design was founded in 2011 in New York City. It's a dynamic connector and amplifier for global design, led by a multi-generational, multicultural team of women. We serve as a crossroad for the international design community across the Americas and Europe. Through their different programs, including residencies, design awards, destination travels, and membership program for emerging designers, Wanted Design is a hub for the design community with a special focus on emerging talent. Over the past 14 years, we've seen the impact that visibility and opportunity can have for new voices in design. And their commitment is to support designers from diverse backgrounds, creating spaces where they can connect, collaborate, and grow alongside other design professionals. So we love supporting Wanted Design here at the museum. So we're going to start to inflate this a little bit more. I think this might be the amount that we will stick with. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, we are gathering again. We let this really cool down between gathers. If you go into the furnace with, even if it's this hot, you could distort this bubble because you're going to plunge this bubble into a really big vat of hot glass, and that might move the bubble. Also, when you gather glass out of the oven, sometimes you don't turn evenly or you let some fall off into the bucket. We call that a strip gather. And through that process, you can distort that bubble. So you want to keep this as rigid as possible. So we let it really cool and rigidize. Sophia is rocking our silver suit. That is a heat-resistant suit that we use to put things into the oven. It's also comfy, and it looks great. It's a nice fashion statement. So she's rocking that. This way she can get really close. Yeah. All right, there's our final gather. That's a really good amount. She brings it back to the workbench. She's going to center and cool the glass. Another wooden scoop tool, and you can see this one's bigger. We have more glass. We need a bigger scoop tool. This is the one time that we have to distribute that hot glass around that inner cold core. Within a few more seconds, it all becomes the same temperature. And then the whole thing will move as one. This here is a pad of folded up wet newspaper. It works really well to shape and cool the glass, the same sort of concept as the block tool, but it's a flexible version of it. It works nicely. That one has been used all week long. We have a newspaper right underneath it that is just waiting to be used. So we are prepared when we need it. And then into our oven. So this reheating chamber is 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the same temperature as our melting furnace, but that one's empty. So there's no glass inside of it. We have a few sets of doors we can open as the glass gets bigger. So some of these other objects that we made really kind of max out that reheating chamber. So there is a bit of a size limit. That's okay. We have a jumbo reheating chamber right next door to it. We can reheat or turn on, heat up, and make larger work out of that. Chris has this whole pipe there connected to that air compression system. He's got a hose there connected to the mouth piece of the pipe. And when he steps on a foot pedal, that opens a switch, and it allows air pressure to go into the pipe and into the glass. Our air pressure for this air compression run system is only 2 or 3 psi, so it's not really a whole lot of pressure at all. And then as he does that, he's creating a constriction line near the pipe, which will help us break the bubble off the blowpipe. And then back to the oven. So we've already got one door open. I don't think we'll actually really need many more today, but back to the workbench. He'll hold the glass towards the ground, letting it elongate, using gravity as a tool to make this bubble taller. Now, Sophia has designed this, and then Chris kind of translates that into 3 dimensions. So he says, well, how tall do you think it could be, and how wide do you think it could be? We set some calipers, and then we make it to those specs. Earlier, we were working on this kind of wine glass. And so we see this, but we kind of say, well, is this the size that you want it? Because in 3 dimensions, that's pretty small. So then she says, oh, actually, maybe a little taller, maybe this a little bit wider. We can kind of work that out. A big dramatic angle now, holding it down towards the ground. This is a straight-walled carafe. I looked it up. That's how you pronounce it, carafe. Maybe that's just one way to pronounce it, I should say. Straight-walled carafe. And we're heating up the sides now with the torch. We're going to straighten that a little bit further. There's some calipers there. Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. He has Catherine blown to the pipe now. We can get a little bit of a more refined shape. We're checking the width, we're checking the height. You can't make the carafe and then go back and say, well, it's not tall enough, let's heat it up and blow it out again. You can't. You have to blow it out now, elongate it now. You'll flatten the bottom, and then when you move forward, we move on. You can't really go back and change it. So make sure everything looks really good. Get everything measured correctly and communicate with our artist and just see. So this looks about the same size you were thinking. What do you think now? And then we move on. We've got some designs there on screen of some of the things that we've been working on. That's a bit of our what's the word we're really using? Our series. Yeah, but look at this. She's just been, and this is just in the past couple hours. She is definitely full of ideas, and it's so lovely. Question online. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for asking. Where does that color glass come from? We get our color glass from a manufacturer in Germany called Reichenbach. It is then sent to a distributor in the U.S. known as Olympic Color Rods, and then we buy it from them. So yeah. Reichenbach is the creator, Olympic Color Rods distributor. We get color from kind of all the color makers, but primarily Reichenbach. This is neutral gray from Reichenbach, number 44. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Any questions in house at all? You just let me know. I'm here for you. Any questions online, let us know. Emily is there for you, and I'm there for you too. Right now we're working on heating primarily just the bottom of the carafe because that's the only part that we're changing. Another reason we work kind of down the vessel because that's the part that we can kind of use the front of the reheating chamber to work on just certain sections of the vessel at a time, working down the vessel. So the bottom there is nice and warm, as you can see visually with that warm red glow. And the two work together to flatten it. And I can jump in and inflate if he needs it, but I think he's got the hose attachment. We have dry cherry wood board here that will press against the bottom of that carafe, and then Chris will press on the top using the jacks. That gives us a nice square edge. You want me to do it? Sure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. A really cool feature of this carafe is a spiral wrap that's going to be wrapped around the body of the vessel. We love this spiral wrap machine that we got. Oh. Are we? Oh. Okay. Okay, this piece over here has a spiral wrap on it. It's part of our made line. And it's a physical texture. It's a wrap that's been wrapped around the glass, and it's quite a raised up texture. We're going to do that to this vase. We're going to use this roller wrap machine. We're going to set that pipe in here, just like he mentioned. Sorry. And we're going to rotate the pipe. And these rollers allow us to rotate forever, right? They're slightly angled, though, so that when we rotate the piece will go this way. And the wrap will stay here, and it will wrap it all the way around the piece. So it's a really fun thing to watch, really. It's fun. Okay, I'm going to be there to help heat up the piece as it's applied. Where? Mm-hmm. We're wrapping a very thin line of glass. It will stick, but we want to add extra heat so it will stick even better. So, hold this a little closer. I'm going to add heat as we go. Here we go. This will be stuck onto the moil there, and then Chris will turn. That will apply the wrap. And there we have a beautiful spiral wrap. Isn't that fun? Isn't that a fun thing to do? Oh, thank you. Awesome. Okay, so spiral wrap applied. Check. We're going to flatten the bottom a little bit more, make sure this, again, looks perfect. The spiral wrap application shows off the contours of the vase. So if you are going for a straight-walled vessel and you add the spiral wrap, it really showcases where there might be some undulations. We love that. We love when our flaws are shown. But this looks extremely straight. Chris did a very good job on this vessel. And we can let that wrap heat up and seat itself in the glass. And then we can flatten the bottom again, make sure everything's good. Cool. So he's just primarily heating the bottom again inside that oven. But you notice he goes every once in a while all the way into the oven, heats the entire thing, comes back out, just heats the bottom. That all over heat he's getting right there. We call that a flash. It's just a brief reheat. But it's necessary. It's required to keep everything nice and warm. Another great way to heat this and seat this torch is that torch. Another great way to seat this wrap in the carafe is with that torch. That torch is a 4,000 degree torch. It really, really heats the glass up. And if you're on our glass for too long, it will burn the glass. Our glass is soda lime glass. It doesn't need a 4,000 degree torch to melt, but when we do use it, it just heats one area nicely. It kind of liquefies it in that one spot. So he was using that to just heat the surface of that wrap and get it to melt in without heating all the way through to the piece. That's a relatively new addition to the hot glass studio. Glass blowing like this has been around for 2,000 years. Adding a 4,000 degree torch to this process has only been around, I don't know how long, but I can't put an exact amount of time, but probably became a little bit more popular in the past 40, 50 years. But with the addition of that torch, you can really get fine details in glass like never before. Okay, so bottom is finished. Now we're going to make a puntee and attach the puntee to the bottom of the piece, and then we're going to take the piece off the pipe. In the meantime, Chris maintains temperature. He'll add a little bit of heat near the break-off, and Catherine will make the puntee. The puntee is a little bit of glass on the end of that pipe there. We just want a small connection, and we also want the connection to be cooler so that it can break off really easily when the piece is finished. So she rolls it on the table to make the connection smaller by rounding the tip, and then colder by rolling it on the table. The table will draw heat out of the glass really nicely. It's a steel table. It's about an inch or more thick. We call that table a marver. That's also a really important glass tool. Everything we have down here is useful. Everything we have down here is very important to the glassmaking process. Okay. Here comes this transfer process. Catherine brings the puntee over. Chris will attach it. We want to get that same exact axis. So he sticks it right on center, make sure it's center, and then we will get the glass to break by thermally shocking that small constriction line. Using thermal shock as a tool, the stress we avoid as a tool, and along that line. To do that, we will shock the glass by adding a drop of water and a light tap. Breaks it off. He makes that look easy. Let's give him a round of applause for that move. Thank you. That's so hard to do and get good at. A beginner will tell you, and we've all been beginners, how hard that is and how many times we've lost pieces that we love dearly by trying to break the glass away from the pipe. And it doesn't work very well. But 25 years later, lots of practice later, it goes flawlessly, so works really well. So we've disconnected that piece from the puntee. When this is a beautiful shot. You can see that wrap really nicely. We also have a reheating chamber a reheating chamber camera too, and that shows off the hole in that bubble just like that. The hole is where we're going to start to open this up. We might remove some glass. We can. We also have a height caliper. We want to get our glass too. So a lot of times it's easier to make the piece a little bit bigger and trim to the same length. Trim to the length that you need it to be. That depends on who you are and what you like to do. Whatever you want. I don't care. No, it's up to you. No, it's up to you. Whatever. I can flash. Okay. Here Chris goes, trimming the glass, pulling the lip. That's pretty thick. So removing that excess glass will thin it. So basically, you pull that thicker area out, you thin an area, you cut into that thinner section. Back to our oven for an all-over heat, heating just the very top. We are going to add the handle on after we straighten this, and I think we're going to do another piece after this. We're going to do something very similar, but taller, taller, thinner, and then the top is going to be a little bit curved like this. So you can see in this piece how we go from almost closed off, we pull it, we open a little bit more, and then he'll use this tool here, the Sophia, in a moment, to round out the shoulders. And when Sophia saw that, she said, "Ooh, I love this shape." So watch what happens. It rounds all that out. And for the flower vase, we'll leave it at this shape, because she loves the way that it looks, and it does look nice. But that is a really good way to straighten your walls. And then you just have that little bit of a lip left over to straighten, and then you're all straight. So it's a good trick. Catherine's there to help him finalize the lip of the vessel. Sometimes it can be a little rocky. After a trim like that, though, definitely not. But it just helps to even up a little bit more. Sophia's there helping with her jacket. She's very comfy. I think we're keeping it rounded for this one too. I don't know. So the thing is, if you have a rounded cup like this, the lip, it's hard to drink out of it. So, because to pour a lot to drink out of it, and that's too much. But for a carafe, it doesn't matter because we're going to make a spout. So if she wants to leave it like that, she can. And that's what's been so fun with Sophia, is that she can watch something be created, and then kind of say, "Hey, wait a second, I like this better." And Chris goes, "Okay." So finalizing the shape of this, and then the fun handle will be added. Don't forget about the handle. We're not doing the handle. Okay. It'll be on the next one? Okay, so this might be the flower vase. We might be switching. See? Whatever she wants. Works for us. All right, so this is the final shape. A beautiful vase. We're going to take it off the punty and put it into our annealing oven. Every piece of glass must be annealed. Annealing means slow cooling, and it takes place in an oven. And it will take the glass temperature down from this hot temperature of around 1,000 degrees to room temperature overnight for a piece like this. Sometimes we can do 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on the thickness of the glass. The thicker the glass is, the longer it has to anneal. But a piece like this needs about 12 hours. It depends, though, on what we have in the oven already from today. Most likely everything we'll give it all about 24 hours, 12 hours. So Catherine has on some protective gear. She's got a face shield and Kevlar gloves on. She's going to put this into our 960-degree oven, so she wants to protect her hands because she's going to hold it, and then her face because she's going to get really close to the oven and put this thing in there. So we protect our eyebrows. We're going to add a drop of water to that, and then a light tap will break it free. Lovely. Thank you. We'll fire polish that part there. Then away into our oven it will go. Our beautiful flower vase finished into the oven. And then we'll jump right in to our second piece. Nice. All right. Thank you, thank you. Okay. So next we're going to no. Thank you, though. I mean, do you? One sec. Okay. We're going to do the same setup. And same thing, bubble, overlay, color. And then we're just kind of figuring out what we want to do for this one. Things can change. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the question is, isn't that bar that we're holding and rolling, is that hot? It is about a foot away from that glass is where the glass is located. A foot away from that, the pipe is too hot. Yes, but yeah, yeah. The rest of the pipe is room temperature. Yeah, yeah. So it's made of stainless steel, which is a really poor conductor of heat, but still does conduct heat in that closer metal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good question. We generally don't necessarily wear gloves during this process if the scale we're working with is a smaller scale, like what we have for today. But the larger pieces that we made over there, you know, if we were closer to the glass, Chris might put a sleeve on his arm, might put his hand on, but it's really about the proximity to the material itself. Yeah. Good question. Awesome. So welcome everyone that has come in since we began. This is our guest artist, Sophia Taillet. She is a French designer. She's with us here this week. This is her final day, actually. And then she's here in the U.S. With Wanted Design in New York City. So she still has a few weeks left of her residency there in New York City. And we're also live streaming this event currently. So we have a camera catching some extra view as we're creating this piece. We just finished a kind of flower vase about this tall with a lovely wrap around the bubble, and that went into the oven. Now we're going to start another piece. So we have that starter bubble there. That's that glass that we gathered from the furnace. We shaped and cooled. We put a little bit of air into it. That bubble is going to be the beginning of the bubble for the rest of the vessel. And this is a really good way to keep everything as centered as possible, is to do it small like this. Center the glass with a wooden scoop tool, blow into it, keep the bubble small, and then you can add color to that. So Catherine has a bit of color on the end of the pipe. And we're going to apply it just like this. We call this an overlay. This is it's kind of like a transparent army green. Oh, just kidding. It is a vibrant spring green, just like this one here. Thanks, Sophia. Isn't that nice? Yeah, she says like a pickle color. Perfect. So that color is rosetta green or lime yellow. Lemon yellow, sorry, lemon yellow. Or rosetta. Lemon yellow? They're very similar colors to one another, but slight differences. Catherine can tell the difference. So that's been applied to the very top. We're going to pull that all the way over. Watch this. He'll smush it down, then rotate, push it all the way over, the glass off the pipe. The glass on the pipe is what's anchoring it. We don't want the color all over that. So we just get it right to that edge and then stop. And that's what we call an overlay, a color overlay. Now that one layer of color is going to take us throughout the rest of the piece. So any of these pieces, if you were to cross-section them, you would see a lot of clear glass and a thin sliver of color through it. So it's just kind of a facade, really. But it is through the whole piece. You can kind of see that through the whole bubble. He rolls it on the table. You can see exactly where he's cooling the glass visually. It gets colder there. It gets darker. He's distributing that color evenly over the bubble. Once this is settled, we'll gather over it at least 2 more times. 2 or 3? Can't remember. We'll see. Question. You're okay. Yeah. 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 Interesting. Okay. Sure, yeah. So basically, kind of what I'm thinking you're asking is like maybe do her ideas of color translate into the glass color that we use? Or does it, yeah, okay, does it take different techniques to work with different colors? Good question. A little bit. We'll talk more about that second part of the question. A good example of different techniques for different colors is transparent versus opaque colors. If you use an opaque glass color, you don't want to see through this, right? Let's say you wanted it all gray, but but opaque. You could really use a certain amount of it. Like, you just need to be able to make sure the whole bubble can be covered with it. But when it comes to making transparent glass with color, the amount of color you use is important. So if you want a big bubble like this with just a little bit of color, you use a little bit of color. If you want a lot of color, we use a lot of color. So sometimes we'll make this and she goes, whoa, that's not as colorful as I wanted. Can we do it again with more color? And so that's kind of maybe a little bit of different techniques that we would have to think about with different colors. Yeah. And then she can take some of these colors too and then sandblast them. And she's been thinking about that and working with that here too. That's another way to make the color. It's another way for her to change the way that the color looks without using the glass process. So yeah, there are a couple of things like that. Yeah. That being said, there isn't a way for you to, let's say, use red and white and mix together to make pink. You have to buy the color as is. So if she has an idea for a color and we don't have it, which we usually have, like the color manufacturers that make color, they make so many different colors that it's hard to not find one that works. But yeah, there might be a little bit of difference there because we can't make new color here. Yeah, does that help? Does that answer your question? And if it doesn't, let me know. We can chat more. But yeah, that's kind of what I would say. Yeah, this one is a flower vase. Yeah, similar to the one that we made before. Yeah, so we had one that's about this tall. Okay, good, and a little bit curved on the top. We're gonna do another one of those. Mm-hmm. This one's a little bit of a different color. So the one that we used earlier was this color here, a little darker. The one that, is this one here, right? Yeah, so green for this. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a series that she started to develop while she was here. She saw a lot of the work that we had from just our regular hot glass demonstrations, and she started to kind of riff off of that. I mean, she's got amazing, this is just today, all her different ideas and drawings of these different sets of kind of tableware. So there's the flower vase right there. Yeah. So. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's air compression. Yeah, that's air compression spray gun there. It will cool the glass down a little faster. Yeah, so fast moving air against the glass will cool it a little faster so that it rigidizes faster so that we can move on faster. Sure. Yeah, air compression is a nice tool in the hot shop to kind of freeze things up a little bit. Here comes our last layer. We're going to remove a little extra glass. There's a bubble we're going to try to pick out. You got to do that fast. As you can see, the glass is moving. And when it's in its kind of the baby gather stage. Like the gather is brand new. Not the right way to say that, but the gather is brand new, so the whole thing's heating up. You want to be quick so that you don't make the bubble more uneven. So now that we have all the glass we need, we're going to start to shape and inflate this again. Catherine gives Chris a break, heats it up in our oven. He hooks the hose to the mouthpiece of the pipe. He'll step on a foot pedal that'll inflate the glass. He uses the newspaper to cool the tip of the bubble, and now the torch to heat the neck of the piece, because the next step is to put in the neckline. The neckline will allow us to break the piece away from the blowpipe. And we can work on the top half. Gravity allows us to elongate the vessel, and blowing it up will expand it, make it wider. So the mixture of the two get us to where we need to be. The jacks that he's using there to squeeze a line in the piece, they're made of stainless steel. He can comfortably hold the jacks on their handles, even though the jack blades are going to heat up very much. So we can use metal tools against the glass. Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. Oh, great questions. Okay, the first one is if using gravity elongates the piece, and how do we get a wide, flat, or piece like this? To do that, we, instead of holding it down, we don't hold it down really at all, and we just inflate it. And the glass will get bigger, like this way, bigger and rounder. And then to flatten it, we hold it up in the other direction, and it will flatten back like that. So that's how we get more of a squat. Because blowing into the pipe makes it round and big. That's how you get a really perfect round sphere. Holding it up makes it more of a squat, wider sphere. To do this. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but you're not wrong in saying that this could be more challenging, because it is difficult to hold this up and completely get that piece really even. So yeah, it is a bit challenging. But making something really long is hard too, because you have to rely on gravity at a high temperature, and gravity is something that's difficult, you know. So it kind of depends on who you are and kind of what you end up being good at. Yeah. But your second question was, where does Sophia get her inspiration? That's a great question. I'm going to ask her. Sophia, may I ask you a question? One of our guests wants to know, where do you get your inspiration? Are you going to do it? Are you going to use the micro? Is that what you're looking for? Oh, I'll get it for you. Let me get it for you. Sophia is going to answer that question on the microphone, and I appreciate you doing that, Sophia. Where do you get your inspiration?
I get. So the lights come from this idea of like a kind of like a UFO, like eggs who are like suspending in the air. So I wanted to feel like there is like a sci-fi, I think, inspiration, and also the effect of the light through the glass, who also like make it different. So it's why we did some try with the sandblasting to see how it reacts also with the light. And also I get inspired by like street, I would say
Street lamps.
Street like urban structure.
Oh.
Because I'm doing a residency in New York, and so I try to get inspired also by the city. And so working around, keep some details of the architecture and the urban landscape. And also I get inspired by the matter itself, how it can be stretched, how it can be reflect, and what technique can reveal also the matter, I would say.
That's awesome, Sophia. Thank you so much. Yeah, anytime. Yeah, Sophia is a really great candidate for and resident for the Wanted Design Residency, which is what this is. This kind of brought her here to us, and it brings her to New York City. And in that, she mentioned this is a write-up that she did for. Oh yeah. So here it says her residency in New York in partnership with Wanted Design extends the research into an urban, rhythmic, and sensory dimension, and that she will explore the dialogue between object, gesture, and urban fragments, observing the city as a living organism in motion, traversed by visual, sound, and human flows. So she's really going to immerse herself in the New York City culture. Yeah, thanks for asking that. Okay, so the next task is to flatten the bottom of this. So we're really focusing heat again on that bottom part. This green color looks orange when it's hot. So this is a really good example of a different color that looks really different when it's hot. The gray looks normal, but this green will look orange no matter what. Even if it gets down to, I think it's about, I don't really know actually, but it stays orange the whole time. Yeah, a wood paddle that Catherine has. Yeah. Cherry wood's a really great wood to use. It doesn't have a lot of sap, so then, yeah, it won't like mark up the glass when we use it. Yeah.
Someone wants to know, I don't really know
All right, question online. How do we get a camera view of the inside of our oven? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Many are curious about that here too. So the inside, the oven camera is not brought to you by a special camera that hasn't yet been invented, but instead by a window made of a type of glass called fused silica, which mounts at about 4,000 degrees instead of just 2,000 degrees. Fused silica is a pretty heat-resistant glass. It's been known to be used in a lot of NASA's space shuttles, like Orion missions, the Apollo missions. It's on the International Space Station, and I believe it was used in the recent Artemis mission. And Fused silica is a type of glass that expands and contracts very minimally, if at all, which makes it a really heat-resistant glass and really great to use in areas where you don't want thermal shock. But also what's so nice about it is it's optically pure, optically clear, so it's used for fiber optics. It's the core to fiber optic cables. It was invented by Corning Incorporated in the 1930s. Okay. And, huh? What? When? For the torch? All right, we're preparing for the wrap now. Here. If I'm not getting you with the torch. Or, so then here. Here. Right here will be perfect. Okay, we are making the wrap. We've cut it to a point. And now we're going to apply it by sticking it on to the moil. Do I need the map gas? Okay. Here we go. We apply it. It gets rolled on. All the way to the very end. Yep, all right. Spiral wrap applied. All right. Now we want to seat that wrap in. The wrap likes to pop off, get really thin and just pop right off. So we're going to seat it in nicely, melt that wrap to the surface of the glass with the hot torch. flatten the bottom, make sure everything's perfect, and then we'll transfer it over on the punty. So we'll start the punty process. Catherine will gather a little bit of glass on the end of an iron, shape and cool it on the marver, bring it to Chris, who will apply it. And y'all know the drill. The colder the connection, the weaker it will be. So we rely on that to get it to break off easily when it's finished. So we flatten that up a little bit more, and then the punty transfer begins. It's a hot jacket, yeah. Hey, you lasted a while, though. It's pretty good. All right, the punty is being applied, making sure it's centered, and now we'll get the glass to break by applying thermal shock to that small constriction line close to the pipe, and we'll break it free. One drop of water and a light tap does the trick. Nicely done. Thank you so much. All right, successful. We're going to heat the top. We're going to melt that in. And we're going to probably trim it. Same thing as last time. I think we're doing that same top. I think we're gonna save the handle for a different project. This is Sophia's last day, sadly enough. She's going back to New York City tomorrow, but she's had a great time here in Corning. We've had a great time having her in Corning. And she's got a lot of great work to take with her. It's really been a very successful and fun residency here. And we do this every year with Wanted Design. That is a nice shot. Wanted Design, we have videos on our YouTube channel. Like this one is becoming one as we speak. from other wanted design artists throughout the years. Last year we had Fanny, the year before Celine. We think about all the artists every year that we have wanted design. We kind of collect the memories and we really enjoy this residency. He pulls and trims the glass. You pull it to thin it, you trim into the thinner section. We also can pull to remove any areas that are uneven and then cut to make it even. Never just one reason to trim. Could be many. He opens a little bit and then we'll, puff that up to kind of reach that taller object, the height of those straight walls up further. And then he says, Sophia, what do you think? And she says, a little more. This is really beautiful. Sophia is excited to see the green and the gray together. She's thought a lot about color while she's here. She loves looking at all the pieces we have around the hot shop, kind of putting different colors together. And then she sometimes will say, I don't want to do color anymore. And we'll go back to gray or back to black. And then she'll pop some color in there again. So building up a little bit of a family of spiral wrapped pieces. We have made already a cup with a handle, like an S curve handle. And that was kind of the basis to set this off. And we're getting ready to put this away. So Catherine has her gloves on again. Chris is just going to add a little extra heat to the very bottom of the piece with the torch. That's the coldest part right now, so we even the temperature out by heating it there. Perfectly straight, beautiful, beautiful vase. A drop of water on the punsy connection, we'll add another one. And then a light tap should break that delicate connection. Nicely done. We'll fire polish that point. And then away into our oven it will go. Beautiful, beautiful vase. Matches the other one perfectly. Nicely done. All right. Let's give it up, everyone, for Sophia, Chris Rochelle, Catherine Ayers, AV team, media team. What a lovely, lovely residency. Thank you all online for joining us today. Thank you all in-house for joining us today. Have a wonderful time. Thanks a lot.